Hello, guys. Welcome to our show. Today we discuss about SEO. We are going to cover some horror stories. Yeah, and it's interesting to learn more about that because in SEO I made a lot of mistakes. I keep doing them, but yeah, it's part of the process to learn how SEO works because nobody knows exactly. Even people in Google don't know exactly how AI can decide which web pages to rank, and I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Kaspar Szymanski. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Anatoly. It's a real pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, a big pleasure to learn from you. That's why I decided to invite to learn
Thank
more
you.
about SEO. I know it's not simple. And I remember many years ago, 12 years ago, when I started my SEO journey, I used two strategies. I created a lot of content at scale for search engines and bought more backlinks that my competitors had. So Google ranked well. Today, I'm far away from this strategy. I changed many times because of Google. We
Mhm.
have a lot of updates. If I don't remember, yeah, I remember like 7,000 updates per year. We can't get most of them because they're slight updates, but we have core updates. So yeah, SEO is quickly changing. Well, Kaspar, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you pay attention to SEO.
Thank you, Anatoly. Well, my background is indeed very much related to what we're going to be talking about because I used to work for Google Search for an extended period of time. And a big part of what I'm going to be sharing with our audience is, of course, influenced by my experience applying penalties, removing penalties, implementing internal policies, all these things that kind of are important for what we do as consultants, as website operators. That is only one part of my experience, though. Ever since joining forces with one of my former colleagues and former Googler as well, Philly Visa, we started an agency, a technical SEO agency, consulting agency, if you want. And of course, a big part of the experience as well is working with clients. Now, I also come from the south. I grew up in the south of Germany. Cost efficiency is our thing. We love to be cost efficient, and I think learning from other people's mistakes without pointing too much fingers at them. We don't want to hurt feelings. Learning from other people's mistakes is a very cost efficient way of applying those learnings to one's own operation to be effective, to be efficient, without necessarily the danger of committing the very same mistakes themselves. They can be very costly indeed. So I'm a big fan of that, and this is what we're going to be talking about today.
Nice, nice. Love it. Love it. Yeah, it's the best thing what you can do to learn from others, from people who got results, and think how to adapt to your strategy. And Kaspar, I have the first question about creating the right strategy because, most webmasters use well-known tools like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Google Keyword
Mhm.
Planner, Uber suggests a lot of great tools, CRM. Uh, and I see when they chase high volume. If you type any keyword on these great tools, you can get high volume, less volume, a huge list of keywords, and it might confuse more than help because, especially if someone has no experience, they usually think, "Wow, I want to get this traffic, I need it," but in the first stage, it's hard. It's really hard to compete with big brands, big companies. I remember someone asked me to promote weight loss. And I asked, okay, let's do it. Show your website. I didn't create yet, but I'm going to create in a few months. And I told him it's not a good idea to start from weight loss because in the top 10 billion-dollar companies, big companies, they deserve these ranking positions. But we can find other keywords. Can you tell how to find them, how to choose the right strategy?
That's an interesting question. Choosing the strategy, we tend to approach the situation from a slightly different perspective and really focus not on individual keywords, but what it really is special about the offer. What is the unique selling proposition? I think that's a term that is not being really used enough in our industry. And in fact, Philly Visa, the other search provider, wrote a very compelling article on that topic. The unique selling proposition essentially is what makes the website stand out, right? This is something that Google has been talking about time and again. I do remember that John Mueller, a former peer, former colleague of mine, had a tweet which literally said, you need to make sure that your website is somehow special, not something that is readily available elsewhere. That unique selling proposition is something that we need to be aware of in the first place. Now, it needs to be available on the actual landing pages, but it needs also to be conveyed through the snippets, because that's the very first instance that users experience the website, right? Where they see the landing page ranking in Google search for a relevant query, there's the title and description. We need to say, okay, this is what the product is about, this is what the service is about, and that's the reason why it's special. It can be the best brand, it can be the most compelling service, free returns, fastest delivery, the largest community around it. Whatever it is, we got to say that. Of course, it is best paired with a brand, because brand is recognized. If there is recognition value in the brand, there's a higher chance that users would actually click on that landing page, thereby increasing the CTR, thereby increasing the positive user signals that Google factors in. So from that perspective, the approach is to look what is the unique selling proposition, because mere volumes of traffic is not really quite a challenge, as you pointed out correctly, right? It's possible to get any volume of traffic to any landing page, except it's not going to be on topic. It's most likely going to be on adult content terms, which if it's on topic, it's just a mismatch. There's not going to be any conversion. It's just going to be cost and no revenue, right? So that's not the idea behind it. The idea is, of course, to rank for something that we can sell, that there is some revenue of sorts happening. For that reason, the unique selling proposition is a critical factor, not the only factor, but a very important one in our book.
Yeah, love it, love it. I couldn't agree more. I think it's related to marketing. I remember when Seth Godin wrote a book, Purple Cow. You don't need to read this book. You need to read just title to understand what he's talking about. So yeah, and you need to find your purple cow, because if you create the same content, it's a big issue with AI, because I think everyone uses AI today. I don't know anyone who can ignore this tool. Probably we have some people, but in most cases we use it. And AI is the best rewriting tool ever. Rewriting, you can't stand out from the rest. If you use generic prompts, you need to feed with the right prompts, the right data, then you can stand out from the rest. And Kaspar, you mentioned about covering your strategy with unique selling proposition. Can you tell how to do it? Because once I spoke with webmaster who lost 400,000 traffic, but he didn't lose any sales. So he got a lot of traffic, huge traffic, but this traffic didn't convert. Can you tell how to unite your strategy with unique selling proposition?
It's actually a very interesting point you're raising, because more isn't necessarily better, right?
Yeah.
So I collected a couple of those really, really poignant horror stories, SEO horror stories together. And one of those is about a website that was very well positioned. We're talking travel industry, right? They're perfectly positioned. They come up with the idea that, we have a rather significant market share in one language or in several languages. Let's add a couple of additional languages that we're not covering yet, because we already know how to do it, right? So we just add a couple more languages, right? So overnight, instead of having the website in one language, we add 5 other languages on top of that. So the volume of the landing pages increases 5-fold. Now, they did a couple other mistakes on the way. They actually just translated, and you as a multilingual person, translation isn't quite the same as localization. If you merely translate content, quality is going to suffer. This is something that trickles down to user signals, right? They did a horrible thing on top of that. They opened up filtering, which is really shooting yourself in the foot, because that allowed for every variation of every product and every service over any, with any kind of filter to be crawled, multiplying the volume of landing pages indefinitely. What I'm trying to say here is that having more landing pages is not necessarily something that's going to translate to more converting traffic. Often it is indeed the case that it's better to have fewer but better optimized landing pages. It is not a solution that can be equally applied to every single business and every single niche. It really comes down to the individual website. Do we have a product to offer? If we have a product to offer, we can have those landing pages. If we don't happen to have that product, if product may be sold out, or for whatever reason it is not available, it is often better not to have those landing pages, because they will inadvertently create poor user signals. And poor user signal is something that's going to come to haunt us down the line, because Google and other search engines will understand, okay, for these certain queries, users do not tend to indicate with their behavior that this is a good landing page, and therefore the website altogether will be in decline in organic search. So fewer often is better, as your example showed, as your friend showed.
Mm-hmm. In April 2012, Google launched the first backlink update, Penguin, and yeah,
I was still with the company back then. Big day.
Yeah, and I had a lot of traffic. I felt the future will be mine, but in one day all traffic dropped. We lost a lot of sales, and that was a good tuning point for me, because I started to learn another side of SEO, white hat SEO. I completely forgot about black hat, and I think today it's not good idea even to create backlinks for Google, even by using white hat methods. You need to create backlinks for users, for people. If you create them, for traffic. If you can do it, then Google will increase ranking positions. As I usually tell, less but quality. Can you tell about manual actions? Since then, 11 years left, but I didn't meet even one time these manual actions. But I know Google changed the policy in 2016. And today, in most cases, Google just ignore all these backlinks, shady backlinks. Can you tell if we still have this issue and what to do?
Yes, of course, there are still manual actions. You're accurate. Most of the time, Google would prefer to utilize algorithmic solutions. They are automated and they are, of course, scalable, right? So you can do it on a very large scale, but those algorithms are only as good, and people's ingenuity always finds ways around it. So manual spam actions or penalties, let's call it for what it is, are merely stopgap measures. Think about when Google algorithms don't really get the job done 100% as desired, there would be a manual action. Now, of course, most of the time, if website operators are affected by a penalty, they wouldn't necessarily go around and about and say, look, guys, we got a penalty. This is terrible, right? So it's not very public. It's not something that people advertise for, because A, it's embarrassing. B, you have completely different problems when you're actually experiencing a penalty, because most of the time that goes hand in hand with a loss of organic traffic, meaning your sales are going down. So it's really short of Google public communication, what happens roughly once per year, where those efforts are being quantified and communicated. Short of that, it's really difficult to gauge how many large websites may be affected by penalties. We can only share from our perspective from clients that approach us saying, look, guys, we have this thing here in Google Webmaster Tools and Google Search Console. It says we have a manual spam action. Can you help us? And then we do. The difficulty with dealing with manual spam actions is that there is no turnaround time for the processing as far as Google is concerned, right? This is a manual process. So there are real humans behind it who review the reconsideration request process and then make a judgment call based on current data. So the process can take excruciatingly long time. We have instances where a reconsideration request is being processed within a couple of hours. Now, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. If you happen to be in the retail business and we're talking a couple of weeks in Q4, that's probably terrible, because many people make a lot of sales in Q4. So manual spam actions are a real threat if Google Webmaster Guidelines nowadays Google Search Essentials, are being violated intentionally. Now, as long as a webmaster or the website operator is aware of the risk, that's perfectly fine. That's their business risk, nothing else. But if they, if this is something of a legacy, or if this is something that they didn't do intentionally, maybe it was an agency that worked for them and didn't really provide the transparency that may have been warranted, that is most unfortunate. In these cases, action has to be taken, but at times it takes much, much longer than the website operator would feel comfortable about. But that's basically what it is.
I remember when Nathan Goch shared his story when in one day he got a lot of emails from Google Search Console that all his clients got manual actions. He opened email, he opened an email and got it manual action against this side, this side, this side. And he told me that was so bad the day, he needed to communicate with all clients to tell them what to do next, today. I think Nathan is one of the best SEO experts in the US, but he told the story. And I'm interested what to do. Okay, if someone got these manual actions, can you tell step-by-step process? Because if we take only backlinks from Google Search Console, this tool doesn't show.
That's most likely going to be inefficient or insufficient indeed. You're right. So what to do? If there is an actual manual spam action, so there is a notification that says you've received a manual spam action in Google Search Console, the first step is to actually read what it says, because there is different ones. For instance, if rich snippets had been removed, it's problematic, but it's not the end of the world. It diminishes the SERP real estate, but it doesn't really impact the rankings, right? It may impact the CTR. It doesn't impact the visibility of the website itself. If it says anything around some very egregious penalties, some very egregious violations, such as cloaking, that's very, very problematic, because in these instances, the websites would be not visible at all anymore in Google search, or very, they would be barely indexed, but they would receive no traffic. Most of the times, what we see, based on a couple of hundred pages that we see as clients per year, most of the time it is really in conjunction with backlinks. So the message says, we judge that your backlinks are not merit-based, meaning as far as Google is concerned, these are not deserved links. And because of that, your rankings will be impaired. What has to be done is essentially there's a backlink audit in order, and depends on the volume of backlinks that can take a lot of time. Now, a backlink profile that has 100,000 backlinks can be done almost overnight. A backlink audit, when we're talking about 100 billion backlinks, we're talking several weeks down the line. And this happens, right? The largest websites out there do have backlink profiles like that. You mentioned already one problem here, because you need to get that data from somewhere, and it's not going to be Google Search Console only. Google Search Console is a great source of data. It's very good, but it's not sufficient. So there is Bing Webmaster Tools, big fan here, because it's additional source of data. You did mention SEMrush. There's Ahrefs. There's many other tools. The idea obviously is to grab all of these, to normalize the data, and to review it as fast as possible. Some organizations are quite capable of doing that. Other organizations need support, because this is not their core business activity. This is not their core business, and they don't have the tools at hand or the expertise in-house to make a judgment called, are these backlinks problematic? It's not just the volumes. It is at the same time the quality of the websites. It's their history. Are these good sites gone bad? Are these expired domains? Very likely. And it is also other factors, such as anchor text distribution. So you have to take a look at the data. You have to look, what is the anchor text distribution? Do we have a lot of commercial terms in the top 10? That is quite possibly a dead giveaway, something that has to be tackled. And you have to put all of these together. Google would like you to remove backlinks if possible. Most of the time, it's not possible. It's just a matter of a fact. So in that case, there is the disavow file, which needs to be built. The disavow file itself, built, tested. Testing really not too difficult, making sure it's formatted correctly. and upload it. Only then, and this is very, very important, not to do it in the reverse order. So it is important to upload the disavow file and only subsequently to ask for reconsideration. And I used to process reconsideration requests myself. So if from the horse's mouth, please make them as short as possible. So there is no point in saying, hi, my name is Anatoly. I'm the CEO of this and this company. We have a great product, but here's the message that we got. This is too much, right? So it would be perfectly sufficient to say, hello. This is what the steps that we have done. We have uploaded a disavow file. We have disavowed 100 million backlinks on domain level. This is very important. Use the domain level. Otherwise, you will be leaving loose ends. Please have another look. We are committed to working within Google Search Essentials going forward. Thank you very much, Anatoly. Sincerely, Anatoly. And that's it, right? The shorter, the better. Because, of course, it takes time for a human to read that. So there might be sympathetic when we say, look, I have a lot of employees. This is really important to me. But it's not going to really help our cause. Shorter is better. And then the waiting game starts. And this is terrible, right? Because you may have, for instance, a campaign in the working, or maybe you have a big project such as a migration, anything like that planned. You can't really conduct it while the website is being operated in organic search with the handbrake on, right? So you have to make sure to get that penalty lifted in order to fully unfold the potential of the improvements, be that a migration, be that a major website overhaul or a marketing campaign, whatever it is. It has to be postponed. That waiting game is sometimes difficult, but there is no way around it. It's different with algorithmic. It's not penalties, but with algorithmic impact, because algorithmic impact comes down to when will the signals be recrawled again. And that's something that can be stimulated, but that's a different story altogether.
You remind me a case study when Alon template, what kind of request to submit to Google, and someone shared template that he had BMW, big house, 1,000 employees. Then when Google dropped ranking positions, he fired most of them. They couldn't help people anymore. So yeah, got it. It's nonsense. Don't do it.
It's a sad story, but unfortunately, it doesn't help.
Yeah. I'm interested about finding the balance between manual job and automation. I mean, like, for example, to check out 100 million backlinks, I think it's impossible for human being for a few weeks. I don't know how to open a lot of backlinks, most of them. So can you tell how to check out something manually, something with automation in order to save time and be efficient?
I will have to do a little bit advertising in that process. I hope that's okay with you. But
yeah.
That's basically what I had in mind when I mentioned for many organizations, it's difficult. Simply put, they already have their focus area. They do something really good, but it's most of the time it's not SEO or it's not website recovery. They are in a completely different business. So sometimes it's cost efficient. Really, it's cheaper and faster for them to task an external agency. And you're right. 100 million. Well, 100 million is not a large number, at least for us. But let's say a billion and above, so 1 billion and more backlinks. That's a really significant number. It takes a long time to get that data. In order to review it, you need to support the process with tools. That's what we do. We have our own proprietary tools. We do pre-filtering, and there is a certain sense. There is like a spider sense, like a Spider-Man sense. You know what you're looking for. If you have the right tools, you can spot it rather quickly. It really is about patterns, and you are able to do it faster if you have done it many times before. So short of having specialists, it takes, of course, a long time. Even with specialists, depending on the volumes, it may take some time. But once the disaster happened, you don't have much alternatives. One of the worst things that can be done is if somebody were to go ahead and give up on their domain, give up on their brand, just because there is a penalty. I'm always very hesitant if a client says this is what they want to be doing, because your domain is often associated with your brand. It's not just about SEO, it's the product that we're talking about. So it's better to fix it and make it better rather than to kill it and look for something else, new and new entirely. Almost all of these penalties can be fixed. Sometimes it just takes a lot of time. And sometimes, if it's not done correctly, and this is again something to be very mindful of, if the first reconsideration request is considered insufficient, if the effort is considered insufficient and the reconsideration request is rejected, the subsequent ones have to be much more comprehensive, much more exhaustive. So it's really best to get it done and right with the very first attempt. It also saves the website operator's time, and of course it helps them to get back in good grace and get their rankings back faster.
Interesting. Can you tell what kind of questions do you ask from your customers? I mean, like how they got these backlinks, because people can say anything, like competitors, link builders. So yeah, many things. So can you tell how to ask the right questions, to be honest, to tell the methods of acquiring these backlinks, because it can help, to increase the speed and the quality of results.
Indeed, absolutely, and we do. So we provide our prospective clients with a complete list of the data we're asking for, and that includes bits and pieces of question, as for instance, do you have any documentation on backlink, on backlink building, on link building conducted in the past, be that by a third party, be that within your own team. I also want to say, because it's such a touchy topic, it's not about pointing fingers. It's not about saying, you built it or somebody else built it, it's their fault. It's not about looking for the culprit. It's about trying to paint a picture as complete as possible. So all of the data we're asking for, all of the input we're asking for is absolutely optional. And some clients like to take advantage of it, and they share in an exhaustive way whatever documentation they already have available. And some say they don't have it, and we take it for the truth. We never question that. It's very well possible, if you happen to be working within a large organization, it's very well possible that those links were built way before you joined the operation. You aren't aware of it, and it's perfectly fine. So we don't rely on that data exclusively. We actually go ahead and crawl those backlinks ourselves in order to verify whatever information we receive. But you are completely right. It's one of those conversations where the mutual understanding that it's a safe place and that everything that is being said is absolutely confidential, absolutely privileged, is critical. This is something that the client must understand, and they must trust you in order to have this information be actually forthcoming.
Nice. I think you have this process because you can help, of course, to take away manual actions, but to save some good backlinks. Because if we are not going to save good backlinks, we can just disallow everything, all domains. But I think all companies think how to save good backlinks that they acquired naturally or with white hat SEO. Can you tell the average data? Of course, it depends, but to get manual actions, that means you need to have a lot more shady backlinks than good backlinks. And if you can tell the average data, for example, 10-20% of good backlinks are not enough to against manual actions, will be great. Just anything about that.
I'd love to, but unfortunately there are no fixed thresholds. So there is not an imaginary threshold of, say, 20%. So we have 8 good links and 2 questionable links. And that's the moment where the website is actually flagged. Most of the time, it's a multitude of factors, but it's always volumes. I've never experienced any website being penalized for 1 or 2 or a handful of backlinks. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's such a costly process to apply a manual spam action to an individual website, and then subsequently to deal with the reconsideration request. And Google isn't vindictive. They don't want to penalize the website. They just want to play it by the rules. So So it is the fixed threshold is not something I would focus too much on. And I want to touch on one topic that you brought up, because I think it's very important to take a step back and see it in a broader picture and in a broader context. You said it's important to preserve the good links, and I completely concur. I think legitimate, high-quality backlinks, it's important to try and preserve them, but the story isn't over with the links that are disavowed and the links that are preserved. There is so much more that can be done. And frequently, the situation where there is an manual spam action, a penalty applied, it is a frightful situation, but it can become a jumping board, because that's the moment where the management becomes open to the conversation to apply real change that also touches on the content, that may be legacy content that doesn't work for the company anymore. It used to work, but 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line, maybe the pizza recipe for New York isn't quite as relevant if you are a travel site or if you are an insurance site. It was a good link back in the days, but now it isn't good anymore. And it doesn't stop there. Technical optimization is one of the best ways to really soar above and beyond your competition. I always say, if there's just one thing that can be done, just one focus area in SEO, preferably there is many more, but if there's just one thing that can be done in a very competitive environment, it is making your website much faster than every other's website. Because Google is obsessed about speed. They really believe that websites that are faster constitute a better user experience. So faster websites, all other factors roughly equal, faster websites constantly outrank their competitors. So we don't have to stop there when we fix the link issue and we preserve some links. We can go way beyond. And that really bad situation of having a penalty applied can actually be the beginning of new highs, of a new trend that goes really up and to the right. I don't want to dominate the conversation too much, but there is also another thing, and that is server logs, but I hope we're going to get there soon enough.
Nice. Yeah. Valuable. Love it. I don't want to blame anyone who got these backlinks, because it depends on skills. Sometimes we need to pay attention. Not sometimes, always. We need to pay attention to priorities, to develop products, to update products, to compete with your big competitors, to find the way how to get results. And it depends when you hire some link builders or don't know exactly how it works. I was on this boat. I bought backlinks as well, because I didn't know another way how to acquire these backlinks. Many years ago. Of course, I spent time to learn about that, to change the strategy, but I don't want to blame anyone. But anyway, I want to ask about the most popular black hat techniques that when companies use to get these backlinks that can penalize their websites. I mean, like PBN, anything else that can help my clients to understand what to avoid today.
Well, I think you mentioned it. PBNs really is it's an SEO myth, if you want, because they are supposed to be private, right? But they only work if they are visible to Google. Now, if they are visible to Google, that's all that it takes for the penalization to be actually applied, right? For the negative effect to take place. So they may be not visible to the competitors, but most of the time, I always think it's nice to take a look at the competitor every now and then, but focusing on your competitor all the time is the wrong allocation of resources. It's much better to focus the limited resources that everybody has at their disposal to improve their own website rather than obsess about what the competitor does. So I think PBN is a very, very common one when it comes to links. So we're going to build something that is invisible to everybody else. Yes, but it is visible to Google, of course. So, it's going to backfire no matter what. And in my book, if we can also share a piece of advice that is equally universally applicable, which is good, rather than avoiding things, it is really saving and preserving server logs. And the reason for me saying this is it's a completely different topic, right? But for the reason for me saying this is 9 out of 10 companies that I come across do not really save and preserve server logs. And if it's not done, those server logs are lost forever. They can never be recovered. However, if they are recorded, they are a treasure trove of data. They allow us to see which landing pages are being prioritized by search engines, right? So we would have this circle of landing pages that we know about, and there's this other circle of landing pages that are in existence. Most of the time, they do not overlap really one-to-one. So there's the landing pages that we like, and there's the landing pages that are in existence, which are much more legacy and this kind of stuff. And there is a third circle. That is the actual landing pages that Google knows about and crawls on a regular basis. So they are the only ones that stand a chance to rank. Now, ideally, those three would overlap, right? But without having server logs, we can't tell if they do. So this is one of many, many applications where server logs are fantastic to have and to include into an SEO, into a technical SEO audit. Unfortunately, if we don't have server logs, we have to wait for a couple of months to accumulate them in the first place. So my advice to all our listeners, to the fans of your show, please save and preserve your server logs. You'll be happy if you do. And if you're interested how to utilize them, there are great resources on that topic. For me, it is one of my pet projects, my pet topics, if you want. I myself published on Search Engine Land how to utilize server logs. It will be to your benefit. It is fantastic to understand not only how Google, how Google understands your website, because that you get also from other tools, including Google Search Console, but also to understand how your servers, how your website reacts to the crawlers. Not only Google, also Bing and others, of course.
Yeah, nice. And I have two questions left, and my favorite question about getting experience. I found that I usually get high results with clients who understand SEO. So if they understand, then we can cooperate like a cohesive team to create high quality content, to understand why we need to create this content, to use whitehead link building, PR, many other methods to optimize websites in technical optimization, many things. But if they don't, I usually tell them, take my course, learn from Lily Ray, Jeff Coyle, Mike Phillips, learn on Google, learn on YouTube. It doesn't matter. Just learn. Get the basic. If you get the basic, then we can understand each other to go ahead. Let's imagine you didn't work on Google. You didn't get any experience. You started completely from scratch. What will you do today to learn more about SEO to avoid such issues with manual actions and to get results?
I suppose I would go to conferences and I would carefully pick which ones. I'm a big fan of those events because it's both. For me, it's an opportunity to share from my experience, but it's also an opportunity to learn from other people and from really good people too. And of course, prior to 2020, there was a multitude of great events happening out there, both in Europe as much as in the US. And the last 2 years, it was more of a challenge. It's changing again. This year, I have many more invitations to conference to participate. If I were to begin this incredible journey again, if I were to just start engaging in what I consider a really fantastic professional career, I suppose I would go to a couple of conferences, and the ones I do recommend, that would be probably Brighton SEO. Great news on that note, Brighton is coming to the US, so you won't have to travel this far.
Yeah.
To Brighton, to London, then to Brighton, if you want to go. This is an announcement as of today, so I was very happy to see that. Other events that are very, very good are also events in London. I have been to SMXs. I love going to affiliate conferences because affiliates tend to be very, very competitive. So often it is top-notch information. So all IGB events, I've personally been to London, I've been to Amsterdam, probably we will be going to Berlin, and all those IGB events are really, really, really great. Now, because it's not just about work, it's also supposed to be great fun. I would also go to the SEO event in Barbados. And that's one where I have to say, I've never had the opportunity to visit Barbados. There was the first event, SEO event in Barbados. That would be the one where I would say, okay, This is on top of the list for the simple reason people that go there are very, very committed. It's going to be a great opportunity. Naming just a few, there are many, many more out there. I suppose the website online.marketing gives a very comprehensive overview of those events that are truly recommended. So that would be my course of thinking. And then, of course, testing. You have to test yourself so that you can verify what people are sharing out there. But conferences give, of course, the opportunity to also talk face-to-face. We live in an online world, but it's great to build those personal networks as well, as we both know.
Nice. Yeah, valuable. I agree. You need to learn and you need to test. If you don't test, I see when people overlearn. You don't need to overlearn because overlearning hurts your times with practice. And Cristiano Ronaldo prefers to hit the ball 1,000 times than to read how to learn how to play soccer. Yeah, I think testing is very important. Practice is more important than learning. Yeah, you need to learn. You need to get the base.
Great.
You need to understand how to start. Then you can adapt. And I have final question. Probably yesterday, but I read this news yesterday about Bill Gates. And he said, someone who will create AI search bot, agent, yeah. He told agent, will destroy search engines and Amazon. You will never go to Amazon, to Google, to any place. I'm interested about the future. Can you forecast, predict what kind of future will be? Because we have AI. I think it's that was hard to ignore today, impossible tomorrow. And I remember Jeff Coyle on my podcast told that in future we will have 3 companies. The first company will develop AI, the second company will implement AI, and the third company will be obsolete. That ignore this tool. So can you tell what kind of future will be and how we can adapt to this possible future?
Well, I'm not 100% sure that Bill Gates is entirely objective on destroying his previous largest competitors. I understand he's not quite so much involved nowadays with Microsoft and Bing, but I think his heart is still in, from his perspective, right place. So, it's an individual perspective.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What we're looking at right now, and I mean, there's a huge jump in terms of machine learning, because that's what it is, right? So nowadays, the tools at hand, they tap into huge volumes of databases, really. And they're quite capable for some queries to provide excellent results. It's not really AI yet, because it's not sentient. It doesn't really have a heart and soul. It doesn't understand compassion. It doesn't understand nuance. It's not really capable of creating brand new content. It can reproduce existing content. It can't really build something completely from scratch. So there is still a couple of steps ahead of us, which will give our humanity or our kind a chance to evolve and to solve a lot of problems. We're talking far beyond SEO. So this is an opportunity for us. From our vantage point, from our small industry that only we and a couple of really committed online marketers care for, AI as we currently have it will stay here. It is here to stay. It will help us to expedite tasks that took longer. Coding is a perfect example. Coding can be much expedited using AI. Content generation, to some extent, it can be also it can be supported, but I'm very confident that we are not at the level where content can be created at the same quality level from an AI perspective and a human editor perspective. They probably are best combined, right? So we start creating content with an AI solution and have some human editor, experienced editor, contribution at the very end. So I think those will go hand in hand. AI, as we currently know it, is another great tool in our already very large tool belt. It is not something that will completely dominate everything. It's not going to replace a unique selling proposition. It's not going to replace a brand. It can help maintain that brand. It can help building that brand. but it will not replace all of these factors that play a huge role in being a dominant brand in their respective niche. So we will be working with AI. We will be enjoying its benefits. I do not really see a future where it will be completely overshadowing our industry. What the future, what the future brings, how far the development will go, that's a different story altogether. We'll live to see it. I can't
Yeah.
really predict, but from an SEO perspective, it's an exciting time to be around. It's a big change. It's a positive change for us all.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to predict anything. I know from my personal experience when I'm trying to predict stock price, crypto price, and yeah, I'm not good predictor, but I hope that future will be shut. Yeah, I believe in that. I think that it doesn't matter what kind of future will be. If you know how to create high quality content, it will work it at any other niches. I remember marketers who used TV and radio advertisement, they didn't lose their jobs. They adapted to digital. You will adapt to
Exactly.
AI, to anything. Just think how to create high quality content because it always will will work. It doesn't matter environment. Yeah,
What we're
Kaspar.
looking at is
Yeah,
SEO evolution, not an SEO revolution.
yeah, Kaspar. It's a big pleasure to get on my show to learn from you. You're so kind to share all these valuable insights. So valuable. Tell our audience the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
Thank you. And Anatoly, if I may say so, you are the most kind host, and it's a real pleasure to be on your show. Thank you very much for having me. And to our audience, if you're interested, searchbrothers.com being the website. I am still very, very active on Twitter. Look just for Cas_tweets, or just look me up, Kaspar Szymanski, as written on the screen here. I'm not very difficult to find. And of course, I go to conferences. I very much look forward. My next conference is in Paris. It is the SEO campus. So if we happen to have an opportunity to speak in person, if you happen to see me on stage or thereafter, talk to me. I'll be very happy to shake your hand to discuss SEO matters that are close to your heart. And once again, Anatoly, thank you. Fantastic show. Real pleasure to me.
Yeah, big pleasure to get you, to learn from you guys. You can find all links in the description below to the website, to LinkedIn account, to Twitter. Thanks again. I love it. So valuable. You're so kind to share all these valuable insights. I'll keep learning from you. I'll follow you. If I have the chance to see you at any conference, I will. Okay, guys, thank you a lot for listening and watching us.